it's a fish. By golly, it's a fish. Little smallmouth. I thought I hit a rock right there. Little jerkbait smallmouth. Come on, buddy. You done. You done. Come on. Got to be careful of these hooks. But he's small enough I can grab him. Got him. Look at that. Talk about a little guy. Look at the size of my bait. I mean, he's trying to inhale that bait. A jerkbait fish. Well, folks, welcome to Apache Lake. You know, we're here in December. Water temperature, actually, it's relatively warm. I got my shirt on instead of a jacket. Going across the water, it's a little bit cool. But when we got here, it's like 52 degrees, 60 degrees it's supposed to get up to today. Not so bad if you don't have a whole lot of wind. Wish we had a little bit of wind for what we're doing today, but we can still catch them. Just caught one there. We're jerkbaiting today. And you know, something at Apache Lake and a lot of these lakes that have smallmouth in them, man, when the winter comes and the water temperatures start dropping, you can't beat a jerkbait. It's a lot of fun to do, and it'll wear your arm out if you ain't used to it. But I'll tell you what, we've had a lot of fun in the years past throwing these jerkbaits. But this one's made by Rapala. It's an awesome bait, little green back, white belly, and you know, something that's 3 to 5 inches is good. And you know, a lot of times it's all about the cadence. Let me tell you something. When that water temperature gets real cold, like say in the 50s, this is a lot of fun to throw, but you may have to stop and pause it a little bit on these smallmouth and let it sit there. And you want something that's kind of suspending. I like suspending jerkbaits this time of year. That way when you stop and pause it, it actually sits there and it just kind of floats up, or it just kind of sits there in that one spot and they just rip it. But with the water temperature still being over 60 degrees, the fish are active enough to where you can try a faster retrieve and see if you can get them to react on it. And with the water being calm like it is right now, it's like a ghost town out here. I like to move it a little bit faster in this clear water. So we'll try a couple of different things. Now I've moved to the bluffs, and the reason why I've moved to the bluffs instead of the flats is the water has dropped tremendously today. We're talking a couple of feet. So since this morning it's dropped, and so what I'm going to do is go to the bluffs, because if the water's dropping like this, a lot of times what happens, the fish will move out and they'll go to deeper water. But what's cool about bluffs is with the water moving up and down, and we've discussed this in years past and throughout the shows, but the water moves up and down on the bluff, so the fish will move up and down on the bluff, okay, or on the point of the bluff or whatever. Versus if you're on the flat side, you know, when that water's coming in and going out, the fish move in and move out, so it's harder to find them. And it's a lot easier for me to find them on the bluff. So we've been out here a whole 5 minutes, caught my first fish. I think I've made maybe 8 casts. So we're gonna go down the bank and see if we can't get something to happen. With that being said, a medium action taipan rod, which is an awesome rod to use. I'm using a 7-footer, 7.2, and Johnny Moore's Signature Series reel, with a 10-pound test fluorocarbon line, and of course this jerkbait. And we're gonna go down and see what we can't do and catch a few fish. Hopefully we can catch something of size. There's one. There's one. There's one. He's pulling. He's pulling. I don't know how big he is, but not a bad fish. A largemouth. A largemouth out here on these bluffs. That don't surprise me. Look at there. Little jerkbait bass. Fish number 2 on the bluffs. Come on, buddy. Fish number 2 on the bluffs, but they're not big fish. These are the fish that are actually, I'm seeing every once in a while blasting at these little boils or something of the shad. But may have to try something else to catch some bigger fish. We don't have the wind I thought we would have today, so we might have to change things up here and see if we can't find a way to catch those bigger fish. But we'll try a little bit longer. We'll see if we can't. Haven't been out long, so You know, a lot of people when they're jerk baiting, I've watched them, and taking clients out and stuff, we always have to show them a little bit too when you're guiding. But you know, the whole thing of the jerk bait, the bait actually, you know, being pulled and turning sideways and flashing and all that is all about leaving a little bit of line slack in your line. So when you pop it, you leave a little line slack. Pop it, leave a little line slack. Because if you don't do that, you're pretty much just pulling the bait, and it'll work, but you keep that line tight, and it kind of more does this, like walking the dog under the water, versus when you twitch it and pause it and put slack in the line, it'll turn sideways and flash. A lot of times that bait might turn around too. So doing it like that gives it a real erratic motion, and the bass just attack it. There's a fish. There's a fish. Oh, that's a little bit better fish now. That's what I'm talking about, son. You know what we call that, folks? A little J-rig bass. Oh yeah, that's a nice fish. That's a little bit bigger than what we were catching on that jerk bait, huh? That's what happens throwing something just a little bit different. There you have it. Look, oh yeah. Come on, I don't know how well I have you hooked, buddy. Hopefully good enough to get you in the boat. Come on. That cold water bass. I say cold water, but I don't. Ah! There we go, a little bit bigger bass. Looky there on a J-rig. You know, that's something new. It's actually been around a while. And I hate to say I've had to learn how to throw it a little bit. Beautiful bass right here at Apache Lake, off them walls again. It's more of a drag type bait, but it's almost like a Texas rig. A lot of folks don't throw it. It's a little bit different than Texas rigging. Texas rigging, you got the weight on the front of it, and you know, the line goes through the weight, and you're kind of dragging the worm through on the bottom. Even though you're throwing this on the bottom, the worm's kind of sitting up here, floating, just a little bit above the rocks and things. And this is getting a good, with the tungsten, every time it hits a rock or anything like that, it clacks and has that crawdad type sound to it. That's why I like using like the oxblood worm or something like that, that color. And you can do a dark purple or something like that. But you know, we come to the bluffs and we figured, well, we'll drag this along a little bit. I had one bite, missed him, and then I just caught that one. So as much as I hate to say it, my partner Andrew, he has a lot of fun with it and catches fish on it. And every time I look at that rig, I'm like, are you kidding me? The weight's right on the worm. And you got to make sure that the weight's on the bottom when you tie it. If you notice, it's got a little O-ring on there. You got to make sure that the weight's on the bottom. And what I'm doing is, you can find them in different size hooks and things like that, is you're making it weedless. You're bringing the worm all the way up, and I'm throwing a curl tail, but you're bringing it all the way up. I'll punch it through a little bit, just like so, and then make sure it's straight. And that's pretty much, let me get it straight. I poke the worm through like so, and then I'll skin hook it just like so. And then it just kind of floats in the water like that. And like I said, that worm's floating up a little bit while that weight's hitting the bottom, and you're dragging it and clacking it over things, and it's kind of pulling behind. So I guess the fish really don't see the weight like they see the hook, so, or the worm, you know, because it's kind of brushing up the bottom, it's knocking the silt and everything like that in the bottom, and it works really good. And I'll tell you what, once you have somebody in the boat that's constantly catching fish on a different rig, you can be stubborn. And you know, the older we get, the more stubborn we get. But I'll tell you what, I watched my buddy Andrew literally catch 3 fish right in front of me before I could catch one even on a drop shot, and it was on that rig. And I'll tell you what, it don't take long for somebody to switch over when they're doing that. And he's been doing it for a couple of years, and now I'm finally showing you. He'll not like the idea of me showing you this rig, but I'm telling you, this rig it catches fish on all these Arizona lakes. We tournament fish together, and he catches a lot on that rig right there. Now the trick is, when you throw this worm out, you know, is when it falls to the bottom, let it fall to the bottom, and then you want to more or less drag it. This ain't something you're hopping or you're bringing, you know, you're bringing your rod from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock and letting it do this and all that. This you want to drag across the bottom and kind of ease it over the rocks and just let it drag. And that's how you're going to get bit. Oh, just got bit. Got him. I got him on that J-rig. Oh, it's not another big fish. Oh, it's just a little guy. He was about that big. I figured, well, I felt the bite. I'll go ahead and set the hook. But as soon as I set the hook, I'm like, he's not very big. That J-rig is just something those fish normally don't see on a day in and day out basis. It's something just totally different, a different type of presentation for the fish. But he was there, just a little guy though. Where are the big ones at, like I caught earlier? Got him. I got him. On that J-rig. That feels like a pretty good fish. That don't feel like a little one. Oh, here he comes. Little J-rig bass. Yes. I knew there had to be one in that deeper water like that. That's a nice one, folks. Look at that one. That's what I'm talking about, son. That's what I'm talking about. Come on in here, baby. Make me freeze. There we go. Look at that. Little J-rig bass. Wow. That's a nice fish. Look at how fat those fish are and how healthy and white and beautiful they look, huh? Beautiful fish. Letting it drop down there. Watch, there he goes. Boom! You know, we're finding bluffy walls, and that's kind of where they're hanging out. But this chunk rock out here that has some bluff to it, I mean, that's 30 foot of water dropped straight off into that little cut right there. Odds are there could be more bass stacked in there. We don't know. The only way to find out is to throw back in there again. But this bait, or this rig here is pretty awesome, you know. There's a couple of things you need to remember when you're tying this thing on, and I'll tell you what, it was a mistake that I made at first too, is you gotta make sure that that weight, if you see, is on the bottom, and then tie the knot over it. Make sure the hook is showing up, just like that, straight up and down. Make sure the weight's on the bottom, then tie to the O-ring, okay? And that's not a split ring, that's just a O-ring, but it works out just great. You tie to that, and like I said, because if you tie this the other way, then you find yourself doing that, and it'll hurt big time. The weight will want to sling over, so you want to make sure you rig it up just like so, and that'll help you a bunch when you're rigging up that kind of a rig. I like the way the hook is designed. It's a little wide gap is all it is. Now they make different size hooks as well as weights that go on the bottom. So if you want to throw a bigger worm, like say a 7-inch power worm or something like that, you can go to the bigger, wider hook. So it just depends on what you're throwing. The fishing here is a little bit slow, so I opted to downsize, but you can go with something bigger and go that route as well. So, you know, you just got to experiment around a little bit. But I'll tell you what, once this thing hits bottom and you feel this dragging on the bottom, you can feel it coming over the rocks. And so it looks pretty good and it feels pretty good. And it's just a weird technique, a weird setup, but believe it or not, seeing's believing. And like I told you before, when my buddy was catching them on it, I'm like, what is that? So, and it works great. So I'll tie another worm on, maybe we'll go back down through there, see if we can't catch one more. Hey folks, for my tip of the week, one thing really important to understand when you're out fishing, if you're on a worm bite or whatever you're doing, we came out and it's glass. When the water's like glass and you have no wind, that worm might be better. But here's the deal. Anytime the wind starts picking up, sometimes you got to keep those fish honest. Get out there that's the time to pull out your reaction bait, your spinner bait, your crankbait, your jerk baits, and get out there and you'll probably catch more reaction fish at that time. So sometimes it don't hurt to abandon a plan and go out there and try some of those reaction baits when the wind starts blowing. You'd be amazed how fast it's like turning on a light switch. There's one right there. Let's hope it's a good one. Looky there, it was a trout. I kid you not, it was a trout. A trout hit that. Big old trout. I was like, man, that was a good sized trout right there. I couldn't believe it. You know, I always like to hit when I come into these little cuts, the middle of these cuts, because a lot of times you might have a little channel or something, but the deeper part of the cut sometimes, especially in the wintertime, is where a lot of these fish will just pull off and get in these cuts, especially on these points like where we just caught that fish. So, you know, I always like to fish back here, but what I'll do instead of a lot of times throwing right up on the flats of the cut or the cove, I'll toss in the middle of it and bring it down through the middle and drag. And this is a perfect technique for that. Perfect technique. And if there's nothing there, then you move on, but it's definitely worth a hit. You know, I've had a great time on the show today. December fishing, Apache Lake. All kinds of techniques can probably work, you know, obviously spooning, but we showed you a few different techniques that you might be able to get out and try and catch some fish. Remember, when you're throwing this kind of a rig, you can even paint those weights so they're not silver. You can paint them different colors. Little trick there. Taipan Elite Series rod, you know, get the right size line for the size technique that you're throwing. If you go small, you know, go with a spinning outfit. You can go with a spinning outfit. Use like a medium action spinning outfit or something if you go any smaller, but you know, that's kind of borderline there. But I had a lot of fun today. You know, Apache Lake offers a lot of great fishing here, and we'll see what we can't do on the next time we're here, that's for sure. I want to thank you for joining me on the show, and we'll see you next week. I'm Johnny Johnson. Now, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks.